Howdy y'all, Nashi Nick Anktel here with the Crystal Beast matchup chart for Duel Links. We're back from the KC Grand Tournament and we came away with 20,000 duel points from a total of 83 duels. This deck performed super well. I was totally hard carried by Crystal Conclave and Super Rush, and it was just a blast being able to play Crystal Beasts at their most competitive they've ever been in Duel Links. So they actually have a great chance against the metagame. They're, like I said, the most competitive they've ever been, and they're the most fun they've ever been. While it was fun firing off rare values every single game and drawing 2 cards and just gaining advantage that way, you know, if you don't open rare value with that last build, then you lose. So it's just great that this deck is so competitive and it actually holds a very interesting niche in the Duel Links metagame. So I'm going to go ahead and show you, these are all the decks that I played through at more than once in the tournament. I saw these all more than once, and so I'm going to show you kind of where they stand against Crystal Beast, and you'll see like they have their own niche that's actually pretty cool in this game. Kicking things off with DDD, you want to say advantage, but just because of their trap, it makes it very even. Because their trap lets them disrupt whatever disruptions you have, and since they put out bigger bodies and they OTK pretty easily, if you don't have those disruptions, then you can't stop them. But if you do have them, you're able to just let them run out of engine pretty quickly and then OTK them. So it's a very even matchup. Lightsworn, I'm also going to say even. If you bounce back the Lumina or any of their normal summons and just let them not play, then it's pretty easy. But if they summon Judgment Dragon, you're pretty much put on a timer, especially with Levianeer. He makes it pretty hard. Blue Eyes, this deck is very free. This is the only free matchup in the game where it's like, I see someone playing DSOD Seto Kaiba, and he has like this Blue Eyes mat and the Blue Eyes sleeves, and I'm like, oh, I just take a breath. I'm like, this is going to be just a free win, very relaxing. Because what happens literally every single time is if they open Whitestone Sage, which is like, that's OTK for Blue Eyes, right? Or FTK, whatever you want to call it. You just bounce back the Whitestone, then they lose their Sage and their normal summon. Then you just OTK them the next turn. You just control the game so easily against Blue Eyes. It's just such a relief playing against them. Crystron, it's actually pretty easy. The best deck in the format, funny enough, is one of the easiest matchups for Crystal Beasts. They just can't deal with so much disruption is the thing. You just really got to know the matchup too. If you know the Crystron matchup and you want to be wary of Impact being able to protect their targeting, it's not bad. It's not a bad matchup. You usually just have them run through their deck and then they scoop. Super Heavies is even, I'm gonna say. You know, it used to be disadvantaged, but then I learned the matchup a lot better, and what it comes down to is just bouncing back their normal summon every single time. Just letting them, if it's like a normal summon you don't really care about, then that's fine. If it's something like Flutist or Gloves, you really want to get rid of that easily, because those things just grab tempo so easily for the deck. Flutist being able to negate your targeting effects, which is what all your deck does, and then Gloves being able to just get cards for free and make your monsters go to 0 attack. It's such an annoying card to deal with. But if you know the matchup, it's not bad. It's even though, because Flutist and Gloves, like I said. Ancient Gears. So I ran into a few of these. It's actually still kicking and it's still pretty good, but you know, it's an easy matchup for Crystal Beast. We don't really, it doesn't matter if they pop our back row because we just have so much of it and we're able to just recur so much, and just field presence in general is easy. Okay, this is my most hated deck of the format just because of 2 words: Magician Navigation. That card is the most broken card in the game, I gotta say, just because there isn't a main phase 2. If there is a main phase 2 in Duel Links, then that card would be pretty balanced. Like, I don't even care about Circle or Rod. A lot of people are saying those should go to 1. Honestly, Navigation is the problem card. Just being able to negate anything after you put it back in the graveyard, just any spell or trap, that's insane in my opinion. It's just such a good card in a Duel Links format that I don't think I mean, like, it should be allowed just because people like Dark Magician, people are gonna play it. It was just disappointing to see every single time I played against Dark Magician. It was such a popular deck, more popular than Blue Eyes. I would have done much better in the tournament if Blue Eyes was just a little bit more popular than Dark Magician, but it seemed like every other game I played against was against Dark Magician, and it's just the only time you really level up to dual level max is if you just run across a slew of people who aren't playing Dark Magician. The only times I think I won against them is if they're playing bad Dark Magician with like Magical Curtain and that kind of thing. Even if they run Circle and Rod, you know, if they're running Curtain instead of Navigation, that's just 1,000 times easier. Or if they brick, like if they don't open Navigation. But every time they have Navigation, I just lose. It's mostly just also because the Crystal Beast bodies just don't get over 25, so it's just very hard to deal with. On top of their negation that they have when Navigation's engraved, it's just so annoying. It's an auto loss for sure. It's funny, just how Blue Eyes is an auto win, Dark Magician is an auto loss. It's just so annoying having to play against them. Gladiator Beast, I ran into a couple of these. They're alright, they're pretty neat, but I mean, we can just you just deal with the monster and then they don't really have anything, and we can deal with monsters very easily. I think that's another thing, since Super Rush and Crystal Conclave, Super Rush only interacts with monsters, and then Conclave interacts with monsters or back row. But Dark Magician is pretty much all of their power comes from back row. And since we aren't running Crystal Raigeki, it's a little bit tougher. And yeah, it's just very hard to play Dark Magician. I won't talk about it anymore, hopefully. I ran into a couple Golden Castle decks, and it's pretty easy. We pretty much have the advantage the entire time. Ritual Beast is actually a pretty tough matchup for us. It's our first one in disadvantage, just because they tag themselves out and they ignore your bouncing effects. It's kind of annoying sometimes. I don't really like it, but I didn't run into it that much, thankfully. I ran into a ton of Dark Magician. I ran into a good amount of Crystron and Super Heavy and Lightsworn, so like these were pretty much mostly wins and DDD. Only a few of these, and then a good amount of Blue Eyes. Yosenju is, you know, I'll have to say it's even, because it could really go either way. It's tough. It's probably disadvantage. I'll have to see. I might change that at the end, but since their stuff doesn't stay on the field, it's kind of hard to deal with what they have. You know, Super Rush is pretty neat, like putting them back in the deck, but Conclave bouncing their monsters back to hand, they just summon them back from the hand. So like, if you know the matchup and know like when to bounce their cards, then it could be even, but I'll keep this in disadvantage for now. Alright, I'll move it to even. You just know the matchup. Lunalight is disadvantage because Crimson Fox is really annoying. Crimson Fox being able to stop your targeting and make way for an OTK so easily is just very hard to deal with. I mean, what's her name? The Cat Dancer? That's alright because we can bounce it, we can put it back in the deck. But the big one, Saber Dancer, I think is its name, which can't be targeted. We just have 0 out to that unless we want to try to beat over it with Red Dragon Archfiend or HTS Signmuth. I don't even think we can battle over it with Red Dragon Archfiend because it's 35, right? So like the only out we have is Red Resonator into HTS Signmuth, which is also the only way we can deal with Invoked Cocytus, which is also, I'll just say right now, Invoked is disadvantage for sure. It's probably like the highest up there on disadvantage, where it's like if they summon Invoke Cocytus, it's an auto win every single time. Yeah, in these I'll pretty much just say like which one's the best one out of these. I'll say Super Heavy's pretty dang good, gotta say. Yeah, this is about correct. Probably put Glad Beast above Ancient Gear. Yeah. Alright, Gravekeeper is advantage, definitely. We don't care about Necro Valley. We can run Necro Valley if we really want to, but it is better than these other ones. Let's see, Red Eyes is advantage. I ran into a couple of these and it's like you just have to hit the Red Eyes Slash Dragon on summon, because if you don't, sometimes they'll equip it with an equip card like the Power of the Guardians, and if they do, then you're SOL. But if you don't and you just do it on summon, then you can clean up the game pretty easily. I'll put it above Glad Beast. And then Shiranui. This is a pretty free matchup. I ran into Shiranui a lot, and it was also kind of like a relief being able to see Shiranui every time I ran into him. You just bounce back the tuner and other synchros, and it's like you just don't let him get off the ground basically. And Raigeki Break doesn't do anything to us. Heroes. This is like Ferris and what's his name? Addition? No, Increase. Addition. This is, I'll say this is pretty even because like they can OTK us pretty easily, and if they open combo plus Cyclone to get rid of any one of our disruption, then they pretty much have game going second. So like I'll say this is probably the best out of these, because like Hero's such a good deck. I don't know why people aren't running more of it. I only ran into like a couple Hero decks during the course of the tournament. I was surprised. I thought I'd see way more. Then we have Cyber Dragon. Definitely disadvantage because they run so much spell and trap removal because they run 3 Cosmic Cyclones so that they could get Cyber Power, Cyber Style off pretty quickly, right? They just get a free Cyber Dragon on field when they activate 1 Cosmic Cyclone. It pretty much gets rid of all of our disruption, and if they have Overload while we get rid of their Rampage, then it's like it doesn't matter because they just chain the Overload, and it's just a very hard deck to deal with since all of our stuff targets and we need all of our back row, and they just pop back row and they get rid of cards. It's very hard. I mean, it's very doable. We can definitely do this. All of these matchups are very doable unless we get Cocytus. Like this might be Scoop, honestly. Yeah, I'll probably put it under Scoop because it's like very hard to win that matchup. But yeah, these are like very winnable, but it's just a disadvantage. Especially Lunalight. Lunalight's very winnable. Neos. This is a very good deck, but we have the advantage because we have Rush Recklessly. We just shuffle back the Keeper and then Conclave the Brave Neos, and then we have game next turn every time. It's pretty easy. You probably saw that in my Duel Links gameplay video. And then finally, Blackwings. Blackwings used to be so bad. Like it was just so easy for us just to get rid of their big synchro that they end on. But I mean, they have such good cards. Simochi, the Poison Wind thing, it's such a good card. It's just gains so much advantage for the deck. It's pretty much whoever goes second, really, with the Blackwing matchup. It's whenever I see someone playing Peak Performance or a Mai playing Harpy's Hunting Ground, I'm like, okay, it's Blackwings. I just look at that coin flip and I'm like, yes, thank you. But unfortunately, I lost coin flip a lot against Blackwings, so it's really just whoever goes second is what it comes down to. But yeah, I had a lot of fun in the KC Grand Tournament. I can't wait for the next phase of the tournament. I can't wait. Of course, I'm taking Crystal Beast to it. You know how it is. I can't wait to play more Crystal Beasts in the competitively, because Duel Links is like the most fun format right now since we don't really have real Yu-Gi-Oh! I'd suggest getting into Duel Links if you have the time. But I hope you enjoyed watching my video, seeing kind of my insight on what the Crystal Beast can do in this metagame, and I'll see you guys in the next video.